Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be doing build your own dinosaur. So for the first half of the video we are going to be doing what I consider the no-so body. So we are going to start with the arms and the legs, and then we are going to move on to the top of the head. As we work down, we're going to crochet the arms in, continue on to the body, crochet the legs in, and then we're going to add the eyes, stuff them and close them up. And then we're going to make the muzzle, and we're going to make the little tail. And I'll show you how to sew those on, as well as any little embroidering that we end up doing. And then I'm going to show you how to make one horn and let you decide how many you're going to make and where all you want to place them. And I'll leave you to sew those on your own, because they will be done exactly like we did the muzzle and the tail. And then I'm going to start using little screenshots at the end of each part with timestamps, so you can jump around and do whatever part you want. So first we'll be doing the triceratops. So I will show you how to do the little fan, and then we'll sew it on together. And then next we'll do the little wings, and I'll also show you how to sew those on. And then I've also got a sample here of the dinosaur done in the plush yarn. I have not tried the wings or the triceratops frill with it, but I'm guessing it should work out exactly the same as all the rest. For this video, I'm going to be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. And don't forget to check down in the description, because that is where I have my Facebook craft page if you want to share anything you've made with me, as well as any links to my other videos that I think will complement what you are making on my channel. And as viewer requests, I'm starting to add the colors and the hook size and the eye size down in there as well. Some of you have been waiting as long as 3 years for this video. I hope you like it and it was worth the wait. So grab your yarn and let's get started. Okay, we are going to begin with the legs and the arms, and they are all exactly the same until we get to the very end row. And then we are going to do 3 single extra crochets for 2 of the arms so that all the toes point the right way. And I will explain that a little better when we get to that part. So you can start any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I like to make a knot with a loop on the end as if I was going to make a chain. I insert my hook, grab my yarn and pull through, chain 1, and that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 8 single crochets into the loop over top of our tail. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you're just going to pull this tail to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1 single crochet, 1 increase for 2 and 3 stitches, and then just repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do our toes, and we're going to have a color change. We're going to do 8 single crochets, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet cluster of 4 and a single crochet 4 times, and then we're going to do 8 single crochets to finish off the row. So row 5, 8 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our 8th one we're going to insert and grab our yarn and pull up, but we're going to leave those 2 loops on the hook so we can add our yellow or whatever color you're using for the toes. So grab that new color, and we're going to tie that onto our old color nice and tight, close to the hook. And if you're not sure about color changes, you can always keep these the same color. but I challenge you to try it because once you've done it, it actually turns out to be not too tricky. So now we're going to grab that new color and we're going to pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that 8th single crochet. And now we're going to start our toes. And as you're doing your toes, you want to make sure you're going over top of your main color so you can carry it over to the other side when we change back. So for your first double crochet cluster, you're going to yarn over, go in that next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. That's once. Yarn over, go in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. That's twice. Yarn over, go in the same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. That's 3 times. Yarn over, in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. You now have 5 loops on your hook, and you're going to grab your yarn and go through all 5 loops. And there's your first double crochet cluster of 4. Then you're going to do 1 single crochet, and you may have to pop out your toe when you finish that one off. Now we're going to do another double crochet cluster of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through all the loops on your hook, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. Another double crochet cluster of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then through all 5 loops, and a single crochet. 1 more double crochet cluster of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and through all 5 loops on your hook. And then when you do this last single crochet, you are going to just insert your hook and pull up, leaving both loops on your hook so you can tie your main color back on. So I'm going to cut my yellow or my toe color, and I'm going to tie that on nice and tight close to the hook 2 or 3 times. And then I'm going to grab that color and pull it through to finish off that last single crochet. And there are our 4 toes. And now we have 8 single crochets to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 6, we are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 20. And you can do invisible decreases if you prefer. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20. Row 8, we are just going to do 20 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Row 9, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 16. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16. Row 10, we're just going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Row 11, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1, 2, decrease for 3, 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12. Rows 12 to 18, we are just going to do 12 single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to do those consecutively. So that's 7 rows. 12 times 7 is 84. So I'm going to do 84 stitches and flip my marker every time I hit a set of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to flip my marker, but I'm going to keep on counting. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flipping my marker, but I'm going to keep on counting. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, flipping my marker, keep on counting. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Flipping my marker, keep on counting. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, flipping my marker, keep on counting. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, flipping my marker, keep on counting. 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84. Okay, for the first 2 legs, you're going to stop right here, because when we stuff them next and close them, we want them to end on the sides. So when we attach them as we go, they'll be pointing the right way. And for 2 of the arms, we're just going to do 3 more single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And now this way for the 2 arms, when we stuff them and then we go to close them, now our seams will be on the right side so that our toes are still facing the front. Okay, so let's add some stuffing into these now. All right, so let's take our stitch marker out. And I'm just going to grab a little chunk to put down in the front of the foot first. And what I like to do is kind of scoop my finger up and use the base of my hand to keep the foot flat. I'm just pushing that stuffing up into the toes. And then I grab another little chunk and I'm going to put that in the back of the foot. And then if you think you have enough, you can grab another little chunk. And we're just going to put that in the top of the leg. And we want to have it about half filled. So about to here. Just so when we attach them, they're not sticking straight out. And then to close them, all 4 are going to be done exactly the same way. We are going to go in the next stitch and the last stitch under both sides of the V, and we are just going to do 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're just going to pull through and tie that off, leaving a little bit of a tail, because even though we're not sewing them on, I do something with the ends to help secure them a little bit. So if you are just finishing your first arm or leg, I will put a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do the rest of your arms and legs. And if you've finished both your arms and both your legs, then you can just keep on watching to the next part. Okay, now we're going to be starting at the top of the head, and again, you can begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I will be making a knot with the loop on the end as if I was going to be making a chain. So I insert my hook, grab my yarn, chain 1, and remember that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 8 single crochets into the loop over top of our tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we'll pull that tail to close the hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do a 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1 increase, 2 and 3. 4 increase, 5 and 6. 7 increase, 8 and 9. 10 increase, 11 and 12. 13 increase, 14 and 15. 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8. 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12. 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16. 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20. 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15. 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20. 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25. 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30. Row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase, 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, increase, 41 and 42. Rows 8 to 15 are going to be 42 single crochets all the way around, and that's going to be 8 rows. So row 8, 42 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 9, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops, something happened, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 10, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 11, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 12, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 13, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 14, another 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 15, another row of 42 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 16, we're going to do 5 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. And I'm going to be doing regular decreases, but you can do invisible decreases if you prefer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and a decrease for 36. Row 17, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 18, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3 and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Row 19, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, 2, decrease for 3, 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease for 18. Okay, now we're going to add the arms. So for row 20, we're going to do 2 single crochets. Then we're going to do 5 single crochets through the arm and the head. Then we're going to do 4 single crochets across the front. Then we're going to do 5 single crochets through the other arm and the head. And then we should have 2 single crochets to finish off the row. So we'll begin with 2 single crochets. 1, 2. Now grab your first arm, and you want to make sure that when the toes are facing the front, you have the strings facing the front as well, where the toes are. This is the one that you put the 3 extra single crochets in, and you're going to make it so the strings and the toes are facing towards the front. And we're going to do 5 single crochets through the arm and through the head. So through the arm and the next stitch in the head. That's 1. Through the arm and the next stitch of the head. That's 2. Through the arm and the next stitch of the head. That's 3, through the arm and the next stitch of the head. That's 4, through the arm and the next stitch of the head. Now we're going to do 4 single crochets across the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now grab your other arm, and this time you want the strings and the toes again across the front. And we're going to do 5 single crochets through the arm and the head. 1, through the arm, next stitch of the head, 2, through the arm, and the next stitch of the head, 3 through the arm, and the next stitch of the head, 4 through the arm, and the next stitch of the head, 5. And then we have 2 single crochets to finish off the row. 1, 2. Row 21, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, and an increase for 3 and 4. 5, 6, and an increase for 7 and 8. And when you get to your arm strings, make sure you keep them on the outside because we are going to need them for later. So continue on. 9, 10, and an increase for 11 and 12. 13, 14, and an increase for 15 and 16. 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24. Row 22, we are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 23, we are going to be doing 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, and an increase, 9 and 10, whoops, 10, 11, 12, 13, and an increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, and an increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, and an increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30. Row 24, we are going to be doing 4 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. Rows 25 to 30 are going to be 36 single crochets all the way around, and that's 6 rows. So row 25, 36 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 26, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 27, another row of 36 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, excuse me, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 28, another row of 36 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 29, another row of 36 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 30, another row of 36 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 31, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5. Oopsie, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 32, we're going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. All right, now we're going to do a few things. We're going to add some eyes. I'll mark out the legs. And add some stuffing. All right, so first we want to have our little guy nice and flat, kind of centered. And I use my arms to keep him kind of where I want his head to fall. And we are going to grab one of our needles. And starting in the center loop that we created with our very first round, we are going to count down to rows between rows 10 and 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right here between rows 10 and 11 is where we want to insert our hook. And then we're just going to kind of make sure it's centered from the top of our head to the center between our arms. And it looks pretty good to me. And I am in a stitch, not a hole. You can see that. So I've got a hole on each side of that stitch. Then you're going to grab your eye and you're going to go over 4 holes. So starting in the first hole beside your pin, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go into that hole right there. And then you're going to do the exact same thing with the other eye. So right beside your pin, the first hole, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down into that hole. And then just have a look that it looks centered to you. Mine might look a little off just because of the angle my camera is sitting, but for me, looking not through the camera, that seems to line up pretty good. So I'm going to put my backs on. Listen for those clicks. And then we're going to still keep him nice and flat so we can measure out the legs now. Alright, so I have a stitch count for the legs, but just in case we're off, or if you're left-handed and you have to go the opposite way, when you have it folded and flat, you're going to want to have 12 stitches across the front for the legs. So I'm just going to start counting here on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the first stitch in our first leg is going to be going right there, and I'm just going to grab a little stitch marker just to mark that in case we're in different spots, and you can see how you'll fix that so your legs are in the center. All right, so let's get our hook back in there. So for row 33, we should have 8 single crochets, and then we'll have 5 single crochets through the body and the leg, and then we'll have 2 single crochets in the front, and we'll have 5 single crochets through the other leg and the body, and then we should have 4 single crochets at the end, unless you had to adjust where your stitches ended up. So we're going to start with 8 single crochets, and remember, if you're off or a little different, don't worry, as long as they're in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 brings me right to my marker. So I'm going to remove that now. And you remember, yours might be different. That's okay. Grab your first foot, and again, this time you want to have your feet facing your toes, and your strings will be coming out to the sides. And you want to have your toes facing the body, because when you flip it around, you want the toes to be up. Okay, now we're going to do 5 single crochets through the leg and the body. Leg, body, that's 1. Through the leg and the next stitch of the body, that's 2. Through the leg and the next stitch of the body, that's 3. Through the leg and the next stitch of the body, that's 4. And through the leg and the next stitch of the body, that's 5. Now you're going to flip those leg strings on the inside, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets across. Make sure you're in the right stitches. It's really easy to go in the same one. 1, 2. Now grab your other leg, and again, you want to have your toes facing the body. And you're going to do 5 single crochets through the leg and the next stitch of the body. Oopsie. 1 through the leg and the next stitch of the body. That's 2 through the leg and the next stitch of the body. That's 3 through the leg and the next stitch of the body. That's 4 through the leg, next stitch of the body. That's 5. Flip your string to the inside, and then we should have 4 single crochets left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, again, yours could be different if you weren't in the same spot as me. All right, let's tie those little strings up now so they're not in our way. And you're just going to loosely tie them so that there's no tension. So nice and loose, because you don't want to pull your legs together on the inside. And then as you tie, just kind of get a little tighter as you go. So that's good for me. I'm going to give those a little clip. And now you can also add a little bit of stuffing if you want to. So I am just going to be stuffing the head, and I like to hold on to the neck so I don't stretch those stitches too much. You're going to put quite a bit in there. You want it fairly firm. I wish it was faster at this part. Alright, that's pretty good. Just double check that the posts of your eyes aren't twisted funny, and you want them straight. And then I'm going to put just a tiny bit towards the neck. I don't want it in the neck. And a little bit in the body. We'll add more to the body as we go. I just can't fit it in my camera very well if I have it fully stuffed. So you can add as much as you want, but I'm only putting a little bit in. Okay, so let's get our hook back in. And now for row 34, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12. Oops, I caught something there. 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 35, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1, whoops, oh, this angle's tricky. Decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and decrease for 12. Now, if you haven't already, you'll want to add whatever stuffing you need to put in, because we will be closing it up on the next round. And you don't need to have it quite as firm in the bottom, but you do want to kind of push out the back side here, unless you get your tail stitched on in the perfect spot. You don't want him to tip over. I think I got more than enough here. And you also want the bottom of his butt here to be flat so he'll sit. I probably have a little too much in this one, but let's go with it. So I'm going to get my hook back in. Everywhere. And now for our last row, row 36, we're just going to do about 6 decreases. You may need to do less depending on how your decreases are turning out and how much you put stuffing in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll be putting all 6 in. So here's our 6th and last decrease. And then you're just going to slip stitch and tie that off, leaving a little bit of a tail to close that up. All right, now you're going to need your darning needle. Thread that on. And now you're just going to weave in and out of the top loops of the last row that you just did. Sorry, I can't really see in my camera right this second, and I can't stay centered very good. And once you get all the way around, you're just going to give that a pull. This might help. And then tie a knot nice and close to where you just ended. And then you're just going to stick that down in the center and out the back somewhere. Give it a trim. And then we might as well do the arms. Get rid of these strings. So you're going to thread one string on. And you're going to go down right where your last stitch, where you attached your arm was. Right about there. And then you're going to turn around and come out in the center of the back somewhere. And I'm just going to avoid where my thread marker is, so I don't want to accidentally go through it. And you can do that for the other side. And I definitely stuffed his tummy a little full, I can tell, but it'll still be okay. So again, you want to put that down in where your last stitch of your arm was when you attached it. And then you're going to come out the same place that your other string came out for your other arm. And you're going to give it one tie. Keep track of your ends because you want them to stay on the right sides. I wrap mine around the neck, flip him over. I'm way too close for this. And then you're just going to give them a pull to bring these arms in and hide them knots a little bit. And when you're happy with how tight you have it, careful not to snap it, especially if you're using plush yarn. And then you're just going to give it a tie to secure it. And then hide those ends out the back somewhere. So back in the same hole, or anywhere. I guess I'm going out the tummy. All right, now we got his little body done now. All right, now we're going to start on the muzzle, and this time you will have to make the knot with the loop on the end because we're going to be chaining. So you're just going to fold it over, wrap it around your finger, and then grab that loop and bring it around and through. And you're going to want it to be on the smaller side, just enough to fit your hook inside. So insert your hook, and we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, starting in the second chain from the hook, we are going to do 5 single crochets across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in this end stitch, we're going to do 3 single crochets, and as we go, we're going to rotate our piece so that we end up on the back side of our chains. 1, turn a little bit, 2, and rotate all the way around. So now our backs of our chains are now on top. 3. Now we're going to do 4 single crochets along the back side of our chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now in this end stitch right here, we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2. So you should have something that looks like this. And this stitch right here is going to be our first stitch of the next row. So grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to start off with 1 increase. So 1 and 2 in that same stitch. And then we're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do 3 increases around the end. So increase. That's once. Increase again. That's twice. And increase again. That's 3 times. Now we're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to do 2 increases around this side. So increase, that's once, increase again, that's twice. Row 3, we are just going to do 20 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Row 4, we are just going to do 20 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then you're just going to slip stitch in the next stitch and tie that off, leaving enough of a tail to sew that on. Whoop. Okay, we're going to do the little tail now, and I originally did the first one solid, and then when I got pinning on the little spikes, I realized it looked better with a yellow tip on the end. So I'm going to be doing this one with the color change, and then you can decide which tail you decide you want to do. Alright, so for the tail, again, you can begin any way you prefer. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end as if I was going to be making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, chain 1, and remember that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop over top of the tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail to close up that hole if you have one. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 2 increases, and 2 single crochets for a total of 8. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then we're going to do 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and then 2 single crochets. 1, 2. Row 3, we are just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you're changing colors, this is where you're going to do it. So you're just going to grab your yarn, pull up and through. And if you're doing the solid one, just hang on tight while we change colors, and then we will continue on. So I'm going to cut my old color, grab my new color, and tie that on as close and nice and tight to the hook as we can, 2 or 3 times. And then you're just going to grab that new color, pull it through your last stitch, and finish off that row. Row 4, we're going to do 3 single crochets, 2 increases, 3 single crochets for a total of 10. So 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increase, and then 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Row 5, we're going to do 4 single crochets, 2 increases, 4 single crochets for a total of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Row 6, we're going to do 5 single crochets, 2 increases, 5 single crochets for a total of 14. So 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 increases, 1 and 2 increases, and then 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Row 7, we are going to do 6 single crochets, 2 increases, 6 single crochets for a total of 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row 8, we're going to do 7 single crochets, 2 increases, 7 single crochets for a total of 18. So 7 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and 7 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 9, we're going to do 8 single crochets, 2 increases, 8 single crochets for a total of 20. So 8 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oopsie, 7, and 8. Row 10, we are going to do 9 single crochets, 2 increases, 9 single crochets for a total of 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Row 11, we're going to do 10 single crochets, 2 increases, 10 single crochets for a total of 24. So 10 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 increases, 1 increase, and 2 increases, and 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 12, we're going to do 11 single crochets, 2 increases, 11 single crochets for a total of 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 2 increases, 1 increase, 2 increases, and then 11 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's where I ended mine off. I don't know if you want to go a little bigger. You can try just doing repeat rows of 26, but this fits perfectly between the neck and the bottom of the bum. So now we're just going to tie that off, leaving enough of a tail to sew that on. If I can grab it. All right, we're going to sew the muzzle on now. So what I like to do is when I get my stuffing, I've learned a new trick lately from taking so many apart. If you kind of roll your stuffing a bit, it's going to fit in your nose a little better. And then I keep my string on this side. And then we're just going to line the nose up just in that line underneath the eyes. So this is where we attached our eyes, and I'm 1 row down, and I'm just right on that row. And you want to make sure it's nice and straight. If you want, you can put a pin in the center to kind of hold it for you. And I just like to start pinning around the top first, right in that row, because that's where we're going to put our stitches in. And I like to put about 3 there first. Make sure it's straight, and then we're just going to pin where it naturally falls down on the bottom. Try to not get your stuffing in the way. So I'm probably about 2 rows up from the neck, but I'm not concerned exactly where it ends down here. As long as you're happy with the shape that it's going. And then I put 3 down there in that same row of stitches. Just kind of double check that it stayed straight, and this did move a bit, so I'm just going to fix that. And then I'm going to start pinning on the sides. And just keep in mind, the more pins you put in, the less likely it is that it's going to move on you. So I just about put a pin in every stitch when I'm going around. I think I'm just going to put a couple more. This is where I always end up going crooked, is right here under the eye. So I just kind of want to make sure I have that nice and secure where I want it. And then once you're happy with the pins and that it's nice and straight, we'll thread on our string. I'm going to take this out just because it's going to be in the way. And then starting over where you tied off, you're going to come down and around underneath your muzzle. If you can, try and pull that knot inside, and then you're going to come up the next stitch in front of that. Oh, I got rid of my cushion there. All right. And then you're just going to keep going down around a stitch or a row underneath your muzzle. And back up the next stitch. Back down, and this is where you want to try and keep it straight. Always have these arms and legs in the way. I'm thinking, I wonder if you put a little rubber band around them, if they would stay out of my way. But of course, I don't think about that until after I'm up here doing this. We're just going up and down all the way around, keeping our thread underneath the part that we're sewing on. And every once in a while, checking that it's staying on the straight side. while I'm doing this, I am just going to remind all of you that if you want to share any of your projects that you've made with me, I have links down in the description of all my social pages. I have a craft page on Facebook that you can go in and find a post and leave a photo. I also have a TikTok and an Instagram, but other than posting videos on there, I don't go into any of the extra stuff, so I probably will not see it on there. But I will definitely see it on my Facebook craft page, assuming it gives me a proper notification that it's there. As well, I just started putting yarn used. I try and remember to weigh my yarn before I make something so I can let you know how much ounces I used. But generally, all these guys take about 3 ounces. If you're doing the regular yarn, and they take almost a 10-ounce ball of the BERNAT blanket yarn if you're going with the plush yarn. And I don't use any of the other plush yarn, so I'm not sure how much it would take for those. Okay, we're getting down around to where we started. And what I like to do, my knot's right here. So when I get to my knot, I like to go a stitch past the knot. So right now I'm going down and around, whoops, past my knot. And then I try and grab that last little bit of stitch if it's left there. Oops, and I pull it over. And then that kind of will hide that knot if it didn't go in when you first started. And then I'm just going to grab a stitch, one of my sewing stitches if I can. Just let me grab it. So one of my sewing stitches from when I first started, and that's where I tie my knot. Just pulling the wrong way here. And then I try and hide that down where I found it. Now the back. Give it a cut. I didn't realize I didn't pull this out earlier. Let's get rid of that. Alright, so there's your little nose. Now put the tail on. So when I do the tail, I try and put a little tiny amount into the tip of the tail first. And if you can kind of manipulate that a bit if you want it to kind of point up. You will probably have to play with it more later once it's stuffed. And I just put enough stuffing in to kind of be flush with the outside. So about like this. You're not going to get much in this side, but you can always add a little bit as you're sewing it around. So what I want to do is line it up so when he's sitting, it's kind of holding him forward a bit. So about like this. Whoops. So you're probably going to end up right close to the neck. So you want to have the pointiest part of your tail up by the neck. I'm about 1 row down from the neck. And then I'm going to start pinning that. Make sure that your tail is straight when you pin it on, and mine's not. The 2 increases there, that's your center. So you want the center of your 2 increases to kind of line up between your arms. And then I'm going to pin down on the bum here. And I would say 1, 2, 3, I'm 3 or 4 rows from the center where we closed. And once you have your initial pins in, just start pinning it all the way around. Try not to get in the stuffing if you can. And I'm pinning about every second stitch, but if you need to pin it more, definitely pin it more. I need to get new pins. I can feel these catching on the thread. My old sewing needles or pins. I'm just going to add a couple extra up top so I don't move that when I get up there. And then we're just going to thread our needle. We're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the muzzle. We're going to just go down and under a stitch, under the tail. And then come back up the next stitch. And then just repeat that all the way around. That one went a little wide. Doesn't matter so much if it's the same color, but if you were using, if you had 2 separate colors right here, you want to always make sure you're under the piece that you're sewing on. Otherwise, you're going to see your stitches. Oh, come on, legs. So just down and around. Under a row or a stitch, and then back up in the next stitch. Whoops, I put that in the dino's leg instead of my pin cushion. I have a lot of people asking if I have a video for my pin cushion. It wasn't originally a pin cushion. He was supposed to be a little alien slug guy, but he just happened to be the perfect size for my pins. And I do have a video for it. It's called Swifty. I think it's Alien Slug or something. It's one of my first ones, so it's not one of my best, because I was still learning how to video. But if you want to make him, he is available. You just have to go to my page, click on videos, and then you'll scroll almost to the very bottom. And then you'll find him there. And I tell you, he has saved me many a times when when you put your hook down, you don't move, and yet somehow it disappears. And I think maybe I'll also say, if you're someone that sticks around here and watches me do all this sewing, I really, truly appreciate that. I know it's a lot to watch because my videos are really long. And I know some people don't want to sit and watch the full thing being done. which I understand that as well. But as long as I still have people watching me and needing to see this part, I will continue to do it this way. Plus, it's a lot easier to do it when you have somebody on the other end. Because I know otherwise, sometimes parts can sit for days before you sew them on. Or the hair. I have second dolls I've made for videos that still don't have hair on them.
Yo.
Yes, honey? Yeah?
Take 5 on the
Okay, I'll be right down. I just gotta tie a knot. Alright, now we're back at the end and we'll do just like we did on the other one. I go past my knot and down. And then if I need to, I go into here. I don't really need to on this one, but I'm going to. And then back down and tie your knot. And again, you want to try and search for that little stitch, but you don't need to. You can pick any stitch. I just find that it stays more underneath the tail if you find one of your stitches. All right, and then pull that through to somewhere on the other side. And give that a trim. All right, looks like I gotta go have coffee, so I will finish the rest of this later. All right, now we're gonna shape the head so the eyes kind of come together a bit. So I like to start in the middle, between the eyes somewhere, and then I'm gonna come out just inside the center of the eye in the same row that you inserted your eye posts in. And you can do this if you've made your own crochet eyes. You just want to be careful that you go underneath the eye so you don't pull it over. And I'm going to go around my eye and let that slip down underneath if I can. And if you can't get around your eye, you can just go into the next stitch that I'm going to go into now. And you're going to go down at the stitch that's about a 45-degree angle. I don't know if you can see where I'm sticking it. So that's where you put your first stitch in, and you're just going one row down to the next stitch. And now you're going to match that same stitch on the other side, kind of at a 45-degree angle from your eye. I'm going to go around my eye. These ones are a little tighter than usual. Oh yeah, I got 3 clicks on this one, I guess. And then I'm going to go back down in that middle row where we first went on this side and come up. Just make sure you have the right side to the right eye. I'm going to tie that one time. And just like we did the arms, we're going to kind of pull those eyes together and kind of push them in with our thumbs so they stay straight. And once you're happy with the width, just give that a tie, and then we'll re-thread them onto our needle. The reason I like doing it this way now is I'm not stretching these stitches. If I have a safety eye, I can go around this post, and it keeps those stitches nicer where I would usually put my yarn in. trim. And you may notice you have a hole here. Mine's not too bad, but if you do, you can always just pull that out with your needle, and make sure if you're doing that, you're using a metal hook, because I have broke many plastic hooks digging around in like that. And now we're going to put the little eye highlights on there. So grab a scrap of white if you have one. And I'm going to start just inside, again at a 45 kind of degree angle on this side, and the matching 45 degrees angle on this side. Pull it all the way through. And I want to have a nice amount on each side. And then just kind of use your thumbs to kind of decide where you want that to end. And I think I'm going to go 2 rows down right against the eye. And of course you can put yours anywhere. They look really cute coming down here. But if your eyes are really close together like this one is, you want to be careful if you put it on the side, because they will sometimes look a little cross-eyed. Then you're just going to come up again in the center. Don't pull that white too hard, because you don't want it to slip under your eye. And then you're going to thread your other side and put it in the same spot you did on this side. So I'm going 2 rows down, or maybe it's only 1 row. It looks like 2 rows, but it's right there in the same spot where you inserted your eye originally. And then again, give that a gentle pull. Before you commit, just kind of make sure they're even and you're happy with them. And then you're just going to give that a tie quite loosely, and then a little tighter as you go. And then we'll put those out the back. And when you're doing these ones, try and be careful that you're not pulling on here, because again, you don't want them to slide under your eye. So I just kind of watch that I'm not pulling too tight, just enough to get it on the inside. And then I'm going to use my needle again to kind of pull those stitches together. Give that a cut, and I'm not pulling on this one. So if you end up like this, you're just going to stick your needle back in and just kind of swipe across it, and it'll pull that in. And now we'll just give him some nostrils. I got to cut a little scrap. And I'm just going to go in. This is our center row where we started. So I'm going to use this hole right here. And this hole right here. And that's where the bottom of my nostrils are going to come. And I go down and kind of around some stuffing so you don't see the black string if you have open holes like I do there. I should have had it a little tighter, but... Alright, and then you can just play with your scrap of yarn, kind of see how you want your nostrils to be. I'm going to try and keep mine up and down. So I'm just going to thread one end. Oops, I hope my hands weren't in the way there. So like that. And then out so I can tie it. Again, you don't want to pull this one too hard because you don't want your nostrils to slip too tight there. And then thread the other end. And then you just want to kind of match what you did there. And then you're going to come over a touch right there. And then out where your other one is. And again, you'll tie these on the looser side. And then a little tighter, so you don't pull your embroidery out. And then you'll just gently pull that down and out somewhere. Fix that hole if you need to. And I don't pull on this one either. Just swipe your needle like that. And I'm not going to give this guy eyebrows because depending on where I want my horns, they kind of might be in the way. So if you want to give him eyebrows, I would wait till the end, and you're just going to do it exactly like you did the eyes. You're going to go in one side, out the other, and then kind of play with them to where you want them to sit, and then tie them up in the center there. And I would have taken these cheeks off because I don't like them, but I forgot. But if you do want cheeks, I do the same thing, only I wrap twice around one stitch before I tie them off. Okay, now we're going to make the horn. And again, you can start any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end as if I'm going to make a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull your tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, and repeat that for a total of 8. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, 5, oops, 6, and an increase, 7 and 8. In row 3, we're going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, and repeat that for a total of 10. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4, and 5. 6, 7, 8, and an increase, 9 and 10. And then I'm just going to slip stitch and tie that off with enough of a tail to sew that on. And I'm just going to mention all of these, I made the bumps all the same for all the dinosaurs. But if you want to play around a bit making this shape, you can always put a repeat row in between these, or just keep continuing on if you want it to be taller. But I'll let you play around with that. Now if you're just putting the spikes on, I ended up making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that's the one we made on the tail. And then I just sewed them. I started putting one in the center and then just kind of spaced them evenly down the side. And if you're doing the dragon with 2 little horns, I just put them above the eyes a little bit evenly and a bit to the front. And then if you're doing the triceratops, I did the exact same thing as the little baby dragon. And then if you want, you can add one to the nose. Okay, now in the next frame, I am going to be putting a little screenshot with the timestamps for the horn if you want to go back and make more. And then I'll have a timestamp for the triceratops frill, so you can skip to that. And I'll also have a timestamp for the wings. So if you're only making the wings, you can skip over to that. But it's only going to be about 5 seconds long, so be prepared to pause if you need to. Okay, now we're going to do the frill for the triceratops, and you will have to make the knot with the loop on the end. So I fold my yarn over in half, wrap it around my finger, and then pull that loop through to make my knot with the loop on the end. And you want it to be about the size of your hook, so you can just fit it in there. And we are going to chain 27. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Now for this next row, we are going to be doing half double crochets and double crochets. And if you've never done them before, I will do the first one nice and slow, and then I'll speed up for the rest of you. So for row 1, we're going to do 4 single crochets, 4 half double crochets, and then we're going to do a set of 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet increases 5 times. Then we'll do 4 half double crochets and 4 single crochets to finish off the row. So we are going to begin with 4 single crochets across, starting in this second chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to do 4 half double crochets. So for a half double crochet, it's basically the same as a single, only you're going to yarn over first. So yarn over into that next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up. Then you're going to grab your yarn and go through all 3 loops on your hook. So that's 1. Remember to yarn over. That's 2. Yarn over. That's 3. Yarn over. That's 4. Now we're going to do 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, and repeat that for a total of 5 sets. So for the double crochet, you're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops, and then grab your yarn again and go through the last 2 loops. And then for your increase, you're just going to do 2 in the same stitch. So yarn over, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 sets of loops, grab your yarn, go through the last 2 sets of loops. And we're going to do our next double crochet in the same stitch for our increase. Yarn over, go through the first 2, go through the last 2. So that's 1 set. So we're going to do another double crochet and a double crochet increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. So that's 2 sets, double crochet, double crochet increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. So that's 3 sets, double crochet, double crochet increase. That's 4 times, double crochet, double crochet increase. And that's 5 times. So now we're going to go back down to half double crochets. So remember, yarn over and through all 3 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to turn our work, but we're not going to chain 1. Our first stitch is going to be going right into this hole right there. So for row 2, we're going to do 4 single crochets, 4 half double crochets, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets and a double crochet increase 5 times. Then we're going to go back to doing 4 half double crochets and 4 single crochets. So again, in that first stitch, we're going to start with our 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now our 4 half double crochets, and remember to yarn over. 1. Oops, I didn't get in that. 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do 2 double crochets and a double crochet increase. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and a double crochet increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. So we've done that once, do it again. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and a double crochet increase. So that's 2 times, another double crochet, double crochet, and a double crochet increase. That's 3 times, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet increase. That's 4 times, double crochet, double crochet, and a double crochet increase. And that's 5 times. Now we're going to go back to 4 half double crochets. So remember to yarn over. 1, oops, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to tie that off. Leave yourself a bit of a tail because I kind of haven't decided what the easiest way to sew it on is yet. So you want to make sure you have enough to go all the way around the head to sew this on. Okay, now we're going to do the little bumps on top. So grab your next color, and we're going to have to do the knot with the loop on the end because we are going to be attaching this. And leave yourself a bit of a tail because we're going to use both ends to tie it in the back. So you're going to wrap it around and make your little knot with the loop on the end, just big enough to fit your hook in. And then you're going to insert your hook in your very first stitch. Grab your yarn and you're going to pull that through just a little ways. I like to leave the knot on the back side. You're just going to chain 1, and all that's doing is attaching our yarn. That does not count as a stitch. So we are going to be doing 2 single crochets and then a picot stitch, and then we're just going to repeat those exact same 3 sets of stitches all the way around. So you're going to start with a single crochet in that same stitch where you attached your yarn. So that's 1. You're going to do a second single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do our picot stitch. So you're going to single crochet in the next stitch. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to go back and single crochet in that same stitch, and there's your little picot. And we're just going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then the picot stitch in the next stitch. So single crochet, chain 3, and a single crochet in that same stitch. Repeat that again. 2 single crochets, and then your picot stitch. Two single crochets, and then your picot. And I might be saying that wrong. I apologize. That's just how I always have said it. 2 single crochets, and then your picot stitch. Two single crochets, and then your picot. Two single crochets, and then your picot. Two single crochets, and then your picot. I should also mention I'm doing 3 chains in between. I just switch that around for whatever shape I want. Sometimes I do 1, sometimes I do 2, sometimes I do 3. So if you do see picot stitch in a pattern, it doesn't mean 3. I've just made it 3. 2 single crochets, and your picot stitch. Two single crochets, and your picot. Two single crochets, and your picot. And when I made this, I didn't quite get my stitch count right. So I should be doing 2 single crochets here to finish it off to match this end. But I have an extra stitch, so I'm going to do 1 single crochet and 1 decrease just so they match up on each end. So there's a single crochet and then my decrease. And then tie that off, leaving enough of a tail to kind of try and attach those at the end. So there we go. We got that one done. And then I will show you how to pin it on and sew it to the head. All right, now to add the frill, decide which side you want the front. And I like the front to be where the stitches kind of face towards me instead of away from me. You can kind of tell. And what we want to do is kind of find the center of the top. So I'm going to start at the bottom at my 2 picots and just go up. And then this is my top one here. So I want that centered with my starting loop on my head. And I'm just going to pin that right there. And I'm just going to temporarily kind of pull the sides down and pin them on the bottoms. So I'm just going from the middle of my nose over about 5 holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And around that 5th hole is where I'm going to stick my next pin. And then do the same thing on the other side. So about the middle of my nose, 5 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So about there. And this isn't exactly how it's going to be stitched on. That's just to kind of keep this line straight as we go. Whichever side you have your long tail on, that's the side you want to pin on right now. So if you're on this side, you want to go this way. Mine's on this side, so I'm going to go this way. Excuse me. And ideally, you want to have 1 stitch for every row going down. So there's my center stitch and my middle row. So I want my next stitch to be in the next row. My next stitch to be in the next row. And then my next stitch in that 3rd row, and I'm going to put a pin in there. I'm just going to keep going like that all the way down. So stitch in a row, stitch in a row, and stitch in a row, and put my pin in. Stitch in a row, stitch in a row, stitch in a row. You might have to move it around a bit. Stitch in a row, stitch in a row, stitch in a row. The first side you have to be a little technical about, and then when you do the other side it'll kind of just fall into place. And then we got a stitch and a row, and it looks like a stitch in the row, and that's where I am. So I want my first stitch to be in this row around this stitch. And then if you want, you can do the other side. So how did I do that? So this stitch, there might be 2 stitches up here. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm moving that up a little bit, as you can see. I might have pulled that a little tighter on this side. So this stitch goes in that row. This stitch goes up in this row. And this stitch will go up in this row. And then 1, 2. And then I'm going to move this pin up 1. And that should get me pretty close. Just double check that you have it even kind of this way. Our last stitch should end about right here. Okay, so let's get our needle threaded. And if we did our work with pinning, this should be pretty easy. So my first stitch I have marked with that blue pin, so I'm not too worried about it, but I am going to go up and down into these two stitches just so they kind of pull tight to the head before I go around the stitch in the row that I marked. And then all we're going to do is go around a row and then around a stitch. Around a row. In the next stitch and around the next row. Just make sure you're keeping that on the straighter side. I'm kind of moving a bit, so I'm going to go back a stitch. Try not to get that stuffing in. I'm sorry if you can't see this. I'm trying to make it so you can see. So the next stitch, next row. Just make sure you're catching a stitch in that row. Next stitch, next row. Next stitch, up, next row, next stitch, next row, next stitch, next row, next stitch and the next row, next stitch and the next row, next stitch and the next row. And you may have to twist so you're going around the row instead of around a stitch when you get to the top here. Next stitch and the next row, next stitch and the next row, next stitch, and then I'm going down in the center, and then I'm just going to catch a bit of this row here, kind of in the middle. Next stitch and the next row. Oh, I might go back a bit on that one. Oh. Next stitch and the next row. I'm kind of in the, I need to go back a bit to get in that row, I guess. Excuse me, I'm sorry. For some reason my voice is going today. Next stitch, next row. Next stitch, next row. Just make sure you're catching the stitch on the bottom all the time. Because you'd hate to do all this work and then realize you're just going around the frill and not catching any of the head. Next stitch and the next row. next stitch in the next row, 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 next stitch in the next row. I'm going to take my last pin out. I got 2 stitches left, I think. Oh, I've been in that stitch. I might, let's just see how even they are. Oh, they are pretty close, so maybe I will go in that next stitch. So the next stitch and the next row. Whoop. And I'm just going to go around this last end and pull it down a bit, just so I can kind of hide that knot on the back side. Because I'm going to tie those 2 ends together now. And then we'll hide them in. Hopefully that's straight. Good enough, I think. I came a little bit forward at the fronts, but that's okay. I just want to hide that down inside nice and close to where I tied. And because my end is so short on this end, I'm going to have to do a little fancy work here and get that in there. So if you ever have a short end, you can always do like I'm doing right now. And you just put your needle in most of the way first and then pull it out. And then we can cut that. Oh boy, sorry. And now what we're going to do with these 2 ends is we're going to put them in right where I joined our last stitches, and then we're just going to tie them in the back like we did the arms. So get your first one. And just on the back side, nice and close where it's attached, you're just going to bring it out and through the middle of the head somewhere. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So right in the back here where our knot is, and then out the same hole that we brought the other one through. And then you can just give them a tie, or you can do like we did the arms, which is what I'm going to do because I feel like it shapes the face a little bit, or the head. One tie. Keep track of your ends, again, by wrapping them around the head if you need to. And then you can just pull them, and you're going to kind of bring his head in a bit as you do that, if you want to. So that is more than enough. I'm going to tie that to secure it once or twice. And then we just thread those ends in out the back somewhere. And if you are finished making your dino now, I'm just going to say goodbye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment, like, share. And if you are for some reason going from here to the wings or just watching through, just keep on watching because the wings will be up next. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and happy crocheting. Okay, now we're going to do the wings, and we are going to have to make a knot with a loop on the end. So we're going to leave a little bit of a tail, and then we're going to fold our yarn over, wrap it around our finger, and bring that loop down and through. And we just want a small enough loop that our hook is going to fit inside. And we're going to insert our hook. And we are going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now for row 1, we're going to do 2 slip stitches and 8 single crochets. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn. So starting in our second chain from the hook, we're going to do 2 slip stitches. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 8 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then in our last one, 8. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to turn, and now we're going to go in the back loops. So normally, if you've never gone in the back loops, normally you'll go underneath, under both sides of that V. But when we're going in the back loops, you're going to go down in the center of the V and out the back. So for row 2, we're going to start in the back loops and do 8 single crochets across. So starting right here and down and back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to turn this way so we can see the V's of our chain. And in the second chain from the hook, we are going to do 2 slip stitches across. 1, 2. And now we're going to do 9 single crochets across in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, chain 1 and turn. And all our next rows are going to be done like that previous row. Now for row 4, we're going to do 9 single crochets in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And turn so those V's are facing you. Row 5, in the second chain from your hook, you're going to start with 2 slip stitches. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 10 single crochets in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, chain 1 and turn. Row 6, we're going to start with 10 single crochets across in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we're going to do 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then turn so that you can see the front of your chains. Row 7, in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do our 2 slip stitches across. So 1, then 2, and then we're going to do 11 single crochets in the back loops across the rest of the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Chain 1 and turn. Row 8, we're going to do 11 single crochets across in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn so that those V's of the chain are facing you. Row 9, we're going to start with our 2 slip stitches, starting in the second chain from the hook. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 12 single crochets across in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Chain 1 and turn. Row 10, we're going to start with 12 single crochets across in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn so that those chains are facing you with the V's. Row 11, we're going to start with our 2 slip stitches, in the first 2 stitches. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 13 single crochets across in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And now we're going to tie that off, leaving ourselves enough of a tail to tie this to the other end and sew it on. So what you have right now should look like this. And then you're going to grab your darning needle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to weave in and out on each side of these bumps. So if you see the bump here, we're going to be going under in this hole, and we're going to come around the bump, come up in this hole, over top of this string, down in the next hole, up, down in the next hole, up, down in the next hole, up, down in the next hole, back up, and then down in your last hole, and pull that through. Oops, I think I want to be on this side of that. I have not tested this in the plush yarn, but if you are doing it in the plush yarn, when you're about to do this step, be very careful. You do not want to break your thread. Then you're just going to pull it nice and tight so that gathers down. And I went through one more time. I didn't really like pay attention to where exactly my thread went, but I'm about through all of them. And that just gives it a little bit more of like a pinch down in the bottom. When you have it how you want it, you're going to tie those two ends together. So now your wing should look like this, and then we can start sewing it on. Now, this is the first wing I've ever made, and it is also the first time I will be sewing one on. Oh, and I have the wrong guy. Now, this is the first wing I have ever made, and it will also be the first time I'm even trying to sew one on. So, there's a couple ways I guess you could do this. You could sew them together and then go up through the center once you have them attached. You won't see quite as much of the wing this way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach mine just behind the arm. So you see a little bit more of the wing, but you will have a space in the back like this. So if you're putting them on the one that you put the spikes on, it actually will look okay. You almost need to go out to the edges. It probably won't fit as nice this way. But I'm putting mine on the little guy with no spikes in the back. And like I said, I have not tried this even as a practice or a test. So we are both going to be learning this together, or all of us. So I'm just going to pin it stick it somewhere right here between the arm and the tail. And I'm just going to go around a couple of times through the body and then through the wing. And try and keep right through these same stitches. So I went here, so I'm going up a row and just through the wing again, trying to keep it right where I weaved it together. And I didn't check if it was high or low. I just have it right in the crease of the neck. So I'm just going around and up. Darn tail. So I guess we should have a look. That'll work. But I might, so my wing actually starts here and where I scrunched it together is here. So I might actually go up a couple stitches just so it doesn't flop over like this. So I'm kind of right in the neck right now. And a little bit on the top couple stitches of the wing. So I'm about one row up into the head. I'm going to take about my second stitch of my wing, and I think that's as high as I'll go. And then I want my string to be on the bottom to tie it to the other string, so I'm just going to go down a couple of times to get there. This is not the prettiest job, so hopefully you guys are doing a little bit better job than I am. And I might just do one stitch down here to hold this bottom part in too. And I'm going in the same stitch I was just in. So this will be a little trial and error for you guys. But I think it's going to look pretty cool. I don't know why it took me about 3 years to try and figure out how to do a wing, but now that I played with it for a week or so, and yeah, I'm not proud to say it took that long, but I am quite happy with it, so I'm glad I didn't try and rush out some kind of shape. I'm glad I waited till I was happy with what I did. And then I'm just going to put those, well, maybe what we'll do, just in case, let's put it out up through the center, just in case we want to tie those two wing ends together. But I don't think we'll need to. We'll see. And I'll do it anyways, but I think that's pretty sturdy on there right now. All right, so let's do the other one. So we want our long string that we ended up on top. Now, is this one going to be backwards? No, I can still go up from the bottom. So now we want to just kind of make sure they're even. You're going to have to really trust your holding job if you're doing it the same as me. I'm just going to kind of watch that I have the same amount of space between my tail stitches on both sides. Come on through there. This one I probably shouldn't have done showing on here. Oh, she's tricky to get through. Now, if you have a trouble like that, I don't have any up here right now, but I did get a really good tip about having rubber gloves. And then if you have a rubber glove on that you can grab, or a little square piece of it, it should grab your needle really nice, and you can get a good grip on your needle if you need to. But of course, I haven't tried it yet because I never have that up here. So I'm just below the neck now. I gotta watch that I'm sewing them on evenly, in the same heights. So I want to make sure this wing goes up the neck a bit. I think I'm a tad lower on this one. But for videoing purposes, I'm going to leave it how it is. So now I'm a bit on top of the head, and I want to go in those first few stitches of the wing. I think I'll just do a double stitch there around, and then I'm going to come back down. Have a little peek. That's pretty close. And then I'm going to work my way down so I can tie those two ends. Come on. There we go. Yeah, I'm thinking that rubber glove idea would be a great one right now. And then remember, we went down, or if you did, go down and attach a stitch or two on the bottom side of the wing. Remember to do that on this side too. And then just come back around so you can tie that end. Come on. Sorry, but no point editing this out, because I mean, I'm sure you guys are having a time too, and I definitely am not perfect at this part. Okay, so I'm just tying those, and then I'm going to I'm going to thread that in. And bring it out to match the other chunk that we did for the other wing. So down, and then out where our other one was. All right, let's see, pulling these. I don't think I want to pull them, actually. I don't know, I can't decide. definitely got to tie them anyway together. I did pull them a bit, not very much, although it felt like I was pulling those strings pretty hard. And then we want to get those, all those ends in. And then we want to hide them. Remember, you're between tail and body right here, so you might want to make sure you go through the tail so you're not trying to get that knot through all of the other stuff. And make sure you pull that all the way through. Hide that little hole if you can, and then we'll trim those ends. Alrighty, let's see how he looks. Oh, he does look cute, doesn't he? I don't know why it took me so long to make a dinosaur or a dragon. 3 years in the making here. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, comments, and shares are always appreciated. And as always, take care. Be safe and happy crocheting.